Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the present continuous in English. As you will see, this is an example of a compound tense given that it is comprised of two parts, okay? Of course, this is different from the present simple and you will see how, because it is not only different in conjugation but also in context, okay? It is worth noting that the present continuous is also called the present progressive, okay? So progressive and continuous, they refer to the same idea. There's also another word, and that other word would be the gerund, right? So if you hear these terms, we're referring to the continuous. But of course, the continuous is not limited to the present. But for this lesson, we're only going to focus on the present, okay? Right. So this is called a present progressive or present continuous. As I said earlier, it is comprised of two parts. So the first part is going to be the present tense of to be, which you know is very irregular, and the continuous form of the main verb. When we say main verb, right, so if we have two verbs, the first verb is going to be what we call an auxiliary verb. It's a helping verb, okay? So this verb has to be conjugated to agree with the subject, right? And it's also going to mark the tense because we're talking about the continuous. The second part is an impersonal form, right? Because a gerund does not refer to anyone specific. So the helping verb has to give us that type of information. It has to tell us who is performing the action as well as the time. Because like I said, we could have the past continuous, but we're talking about the present. How do we know that we're talking about the present continuous, right? We will always know when we're talking about the continuous by looking at the second verb, which would be in the gerund, and we'll get to that shortly. But the to be gives us an indication as to who is performing the action, right? As well as the time. So the present tense of to be means that we're talking about the present, okay? I hope that I am clear. So now that we know the first part, to be, present tense of to be, how do we form the continuous form, right? How do we create that, right? So to form the continuous form of the verb, the suffix ing is added to the infinitive of the verb or the base form, okay? So let's take work for example. If we want to form the continuous, we would add ing. So we take the verb as it is and just add ing at the end. And this is our continuous form. Eat, we have eating. We just add ing. So if we wanted to use a subject, we could say we are working. I am eating. You see? The continuous form must be accompanied by an auxiliary verb. And because we're talking about the present, that verb will be to be. You can't just say I working. No. It needs an auxiliary verb. Okay? So we take the verb in its base form and just add ing to form the continuous. Okay? However, we have some irregularities. If the verb ends in E, the E is removed and ing is added, okay? So let's look at use. Use ends in E, therefore we remove E and we just add ing. We will not put ing at the end, right? Without removing the E. Take becomes taking, so the E is removed. Make becomes making. So if the verb ends in E. When we are forming the gerund or the continuous, we remove the E and add ing. Now if the verb ends in IE, right, the IE is removed and Y is added, followed by ing. So another spelling change. If the verb ends in IE, we remove the IE, and or we can say that the IE changes to Y and ing is added. Lie becomes lying. Tie becomes, what's this? Oh, I thought I had trying. Oh, my bad, yes. Tie becomes tying, right? And die becomes dying, right? So the IE changes to Y and ing is added, okay? Very good. And the third change that we must make, if the verb ends in CVC, and this is consonant, vowel, consonant, okay? The last consonant is doubled and ing is added, okay? So if we have a verb, right, that ends in that structure, right, CVC, then the final consonant has to be doubled and then we add ing. So for example, sit. We have a consonant in S, a vowel in I, and a consonant in C. Therefore, that follows that pattern. So we have to double the T and add ing to form the gerund. Okay? Clap, it ends in CVC, consonant in L, vowel in A, consonant in P. So we double the P and we have clapping. Plan, it also ends in CVC, C for L, V for A, and C for N. So we double the N and we have planning. So this would be the formation of the present continuous. So we have the present tense of the verb to be, which is going to tell us who performs the action, right? As well as the time. And then we have the continuous form. Excellent. So I hope that this was understandable. And now we are going to progress to the context. So we move on to the context. And this is where you're going to see how this tense is different from the present simple. Okay? So the first context. We use it to talk about an action that is happening right now. So at the moment of speaking, right? Anything that is happening at the moment of speaking, right? So the phone is ringing, right? That could literally be happening right now. We are singing. So we use it when we are talking about action that is in progress or an action that is happening right now. Okay? So this is the first context in which we use the present continuous to describe what is happening as we speak. Right? Good. 2, to talk about an action in the future that has already been planned. So we can use the present continuous to talk about the future. And when we do so, we are talking about something that has already been planned, right? I am meeting her tomorrow. I can also say I will meet her tomorrow. But I'm meeting her tomorrow gives more certainty or conveys more certainty that, okay, this is going to happen, right? It will happen. It is going to happen, right? And the present continuous is used to emphasize that this is an event that has been planned beforehand, right? I am meeting her tomorrow. That will happen. Okay? Similarly, our family is traveling to Spain next week. I could also say we'll travel to Spain, but will travel suggests that it is more of an intention and is not something that has been that is not something final or concrete. But if I say our family is traveling to Spain, then this will happen for sure. Okay? So we can use the present continuous to talk about the future, and this is the sense that we use in which we use it to talk about an action that has already been planned, right? So it conveys certainty. 3, to talk about a temporary situation. My son is working at the hospital. This does not mean that he is literally at work. Well, this does not mean that right now he's at work. It just means that this is his current state. This is what he is doing at the moment, right? But at the moment of speaking, he could be at home resting, right? He may not even be at the hospital, but we're just talking about what he is currently doing as far as employment. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's doing that right now, but we're talking about his current employment. So he is working at the hospital. Likewise, I am watching an exciting series. I could be having a conversation with you and I can say something like this, but it doesn't mean that I'm with my phone actually watching the series, right? It is what I am doing behind the scenes. So maybe when I go home, I'm going to watch it or what have you, but it doesn't mean that I'm literally right in front of you saying, okay, I'm watching an exciting series. It could mean that, and that would be more the first context, but it can also refer to something that we are doing. Not at the moment, but we are doing, right? So I'm watching an exciting series. That's right. 4, to talk about annoying habits. When it comes to this usage, we are going to see the utilization of adverbs of frequency such as always, constantly, etc. We usually use the present continuous in this context to convey that someone does something repeatedly, but it is annoying. For example, you are always showing up late. So you see we have the adverb of frequency, always, right? And we have, as you see, the adverb is placed between the two verbs, the auxiliary and the main verb. You are always showing up late. Mary is constantly watching me. So as you see, you get the sense that, these are habits that are annoying, right? So we can use it for that purpose. Anytime we want to say that someone does something or does something often and that whatever they're doing is annoying, we can use the present continuous to express that. And we usually will use an adverb of frequency to convey that as well. Okay, so you see the examples with constantly and always. 5, to talk about progression. What do I mean by progression? By progression, I mean we are talking about something that is fluid, something that is changing rapidly, or something that goes from one state to a more advanced state. It is fluid, right, or dynamic. It is not steady or fixed. It is changing frequently, right? So your Spanish is getting better, right? So as you see, if we say that your Spanish is getting better, then we are saying that gradually are slowly, well, the pace doesn't really matter in this context, but the point is it is becoming more advanced, right? So this represents progression, and to express that we can utilize the present progressive, okay? The world is changing rapidly. So change this means that the world is experiencing changes at a rapid rate, right? Therefore, this talks about progression, right? Very good. So these are 5 contexts in which the present progressive or present continuous is utilized. But one more thing before I show you how to form negative sentences as well as questions. Stative verbs, and this is something that would have come up in the present simple lesson, but stative verbs are not used in the present continuous. They're used in the present simple, okay? Verbs that relate to emotions, like the senses, etc. You always use those in the present simple. Those are not used in the continuous. And if you want to see examples of those, if you want to know what you want to think about examples, think about verbs that do not refer to actions but rather states, such as the verbs related to the senses, verbs related to thoughts, etc. Right? But you can check that lesson out just to refresh your memory, okay? All right. So we have concluded, or we have finished talking about the context. Now we are going to proceed to negation. So we move on to the final segment of this lesson. And as previously mentioned, we are going to talk about negation and questions. In order to negate sentences in the present continuous, not, which is the negative word, is placed between the verb to be and the continuous form of the main verb. Therefore, it is placed between the auxiliary verb and the continuous form. Therefore, I am not eating that. The affirmative equivalent would be I am eating that. Okay? Whereas we are not studying for this exam, the affirmative equivalent is going to be we are studying for this exam. So you see that the not falls between the auxiliary verb and the main verb, which in this case would be the continuous form, right? So simple. When it comes to questions, to form an affirmative question, the auxiliary verb to be is put at the start, followed by the subject, and then the continuous form of the main verb, which is going to be, is he sleeping? Are they going? So you see, we put the auxiliary verb to be at the start, and then we have the subject followed by the progressive, okay? Is he sleeping? And it is worth noting that we can form contractions here and here. For example, I'm not eating that. We aren't studying for this exam. Isn't he sleeping? Are they, wait, what am I talking about? No, not here, but I was thinking of if they were put in the negative. That's going to be coming up next. But to form a question, we place the auxiliary verb is at the start, followed by the subject, followed by the continuous form. Now, for negative questions, not is placed after the subject. So it's the same formula here with affirmative questions. The only difference is that we have the addition of not, which is placed after the subject, which means that it falls between the subject and the continuous form of the verb. Therefore, is he sleeping becomes is he not sleeping. Are they going becomes are they not going. That's right. And we can form contractions of these by saying isn't isn't he sleeping? Aren't they going? That's right. If we want to use other interrogative words such as how, what, we just put them at the start. For example, how is he doing? Where are they going? Are they going? Where are they going? So we just place the interrogative word at the start, and we follow the same structure that we have established with regard to questions. How is she getting home? Right? Simple. That's right. So this concludes our lesson on the present continuous in English. I hope that you have understood everything. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.